sent the best message to the world and in a massive success. When we left at Trafalgar Square, I said, we done it. Yeah. We absolutely done it. Do you know what we done? We harnessed and channeled people's anger into a festival celebration of their identity and culture. All the things that have been taken from. We gave those people a sense of belief, belonging, and a vision. We gave them a vision. And that's what we're in the process of doing. We're still going to do it. It doesn't matter if we're imprisoned. We're still going to do it. And we will challenge the establishment. It doesn't matter whether they delay it for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. It is inevitable. And what they don't want is someone that can galvanise them and someone that's going to do that. So, see you later, Tommy Robinson. Rest in peace, Tommy Robinson.
Shame on you, you censorious thug.
Well, we've been talking about Tommy Robinson all week. In fact, we've been following his great comeback for months. I call it a comeback because all the social media companies at once decided to cancel him, sort of like they did to Alex Jones in America a few years ago. But when Elon Musk revived Twitter and made it the #1 news app in the world, he reviewed some of the politically correct cancel culture decisions that company had made. And he turned Tommy Robinson's account back on. Now, I'm not putting it all at the feet of Elon Musk, but that has been a way for ordinary citizens, especially in the UK, to communicate, to express themselves with narratives that are not approved by the political elites, the journalistic elites, and these days by the legal elites. Joining us now via Skype is our old friend and alumnus, I'd call him. Remember, he used to work for us back in the day. Tommy Robinson. Tommy, great to see you again.
How are you, Ezra? Things
good.
Are chaotic.
You know, I'm following you very closely, as are millions of people. I don't want to overemphasize Twitter, but it is a big factor here. That is your primary outlet now, isn't it?
Ezra, it's a huge factor. It's a factor that I'd say has terrified the British establishment. It's literally terrified them. They do not know what to do. They don't know how to handle it. They don't know how to handle not being in control of speech and not being in control of the narrative. What we've seen for the last week with the 7 days of riots, if it was left just to the mainstream media, you wouldn't have witnessed any of the mobs of Muslims carrying swords, beating up English people, terrorising the streets across the UK. Simply, none of the mainstream have showed it. No politician spoke about it. The entire narrative has been that the Muslims are victims and they must be protected, when in reality, it's the total opposite. And unfortunately for the British establishment and the British media, because of X, we're able to reach millions, if not hundreds of millions of people to say, actually, this is what's going on. And you can see now they're talking about bringing in new laws. I'd like to ask you, Ezra, you're always down this. What do you think they're going to do? Because I'm sitting here thinking, they're coming for me. I've never felt a target on me like the last 7 days. Obviously, I upset them. We had 100,000 people on the streets of London in the largest peaceful rally the country's ever seen of patriots. And then I've released a film which has now amassed 40 million views in eight or 9 days, which totally exposes the corruption of the judiciary. Neither of those things should be criminal. I currently face a contempt of court proceedings hearing, which I'm in no doubt they're going to want to lock me up for. But they've tried to land the entirety of this violence on the streets on my lap, even though the evidence goes totally against that. Every message I've given was for peace, for calmness, for no violence. But they've totally ignored that. And they've run with the narrative. And once one said it, which was the Daily Mail, the BBC, Metropolitan Police officers, everyone is literally quoting to say, I've instigated violence and attacks on mosques. Yeah, which is just insanity.
You know, we played some clips of you earlier in the past couple of weeks insisting on peaceful protests. And you know what, Tommy, I don't know if you know the origin of the word scapegoat. It was actually something that they would do. They would, quote, put all their sins and crimes on a goat, and then they would slaughter the goat and it was a way for the community to purge themselves of their own sin. And so they've chosen you as the scapegoat, that all the ills and problems of the UK, all the racial strife, all the lack of integration, the poor conditions of Indigenous white working class Brits, instead of the people who are responsible for those problems owning them, you're the scapegoat. Now, the problem is, in the end of the story, the scapegoat dies. And I don't want to be.
Thanks, Ezra.
I don't want to be morbid, but I know that they've
Cheers,
arrested
Ezra.
you. They've arrested you before. They've jailed you before. They put you in solitary confinement before. Tommy, and again, I'm not making light of it. I'm surprised that there's not a special forces SAS team coming down by helicopter right now to grab you 007 style. You're literally public enemy number one. That was the name of your book, Enemy of the State. You are public enemy number one, not some terrorist jihadist, but you are.
Do you know, by doing that, they haven't had to talk about any problems. They haven't had to speak about open border migration. They haven't had to speak about the fact they've filled all these hotels, men out of the hotels are raped and murdered. They haven't had one conversation about it. We haven't even had a conversation about the motive of why 3 little girls were stabbed and butchered and nearly a dozen murdered and nearly a dozen stabbed to pieces. They haven't had to have a discussion about the Harefield riots or what happened at Manchester Airport. No, they haven't had to talk about any of it by creating the bogeyman of the English Defence League and landing it on my lap.
Yeah.
They've totally manufactured. They put up 100 far-right riots. There were none planned. They knew there were none planned. It was totally manufactured by the government, by the far left, to create this facade to scare the public. And right now, Ezra, I'm looking, some bloke just got 12 weeks in jail for putting an emoji on Facebook. 12 weeks in jail. Another Englishman just got 26 months in jail for aggressively shouting at the police.
Yeah.
Now, when you think about what we've watched since October the 7th, when you think about the terrorist slogans, the calls for jihad by leaders of prescribed terrorist organisations on the streets calling for Muslim armies, they didn't even get their collar felt. They did. It's just like, I'm watching it all thinking, you've doubled down. You've gone absolutely two-tier policing. You've gone totally tyrannical. You're showing the entire world. I saw Joe Rogan talking about, obviously Elon Musk got involved. Some of the most influential voices in the world are talking about communist rule of Great Britain, Soviet Britain. And they don't, the scary thing is, I don't think they care.
Yeah.
Keir Starmer, I don't think they care.
Yeah.
So
Well, and it's not just Keir Starmer, and I'm sorry to interrupt, because some of these laws were brought in by the Conservative Party. A lot of this mass migration was from the Conservative Party. The calls for censorship over the last 14 years have been under the Conservative Party. So it really is a kind of unanimity, the entire establishment political class and the media. I saw the other day, all the big newspapers had the exact same front page photo, and they used the exact same phrases. That can't be a coincidence. I'm sorry. I know how competitive Fleet Street is. Those guys,
We stopped them.
They would do anything to outcompete each other. They're rivals, and yet they had a unanimous message, Tommy. It reminds me of Brexit when the entire establishment closed ranks. It reminds me of COVID. This is an all hands on deck defense of the establishment, and you are the scapegoat.
I know. I'm sitting there looking at it all thinking, I didn't say that. I've never said that. How have you resurrected the English Defence League that hasn't been here for 10 years? And how is there not one single journalist in Great Britain that's saying, hold on, there is no English Defence League. Hold on, these people were all local to the area. This is all fabricated. They've created an organisation that's been dead. They've scared the whole country and fled and pushed all these. If you look at the Sunderland, one of the first riots, the one where the police station was burned down, you look at what the men were wearing that come up the street, and an actual member of the public, I don't know if you've seen the footage, he pulls them and says, who are you? How come you're all dressed like that? Like, he was implying and asking, who are you? And he says, are you Antifa? So it's like all of this has been manufactured. And manufactured for what? Manufactured because what are they trying to do now? Well, they don't have to have a discussion. They knew this country was on the verge, and still is on the verge, of a cultural revolution. To have 100,000 patriots on the streets of London, to have 1 million people watching that live online, the whole world looking, and to pull it off successfully must have hurt them. Well, it has hurt them, because we see before any riots, I'm detained by counterterrorism on my way out of the country. A total abuse of power. I have my phone seized. I'm questioned for 6 hours without the right to reply. I have no right to silence. So I was questioned for 6 hours where everything they questioned me about was my legal, lawful rights. So they're asking me, who are you meeting? Who's involved? What are you doing next? How are you going to do this? It's like, and you don't have a right to remain silent. So you have to answer.
You know, I'm so glad you brought that up. It was the next thing I was going to ask you, because literally a day, like within hours of your last public rally, they swept you up. In the UK, like in Canada, normally you have to arrest someone you have to have reasonable suspicion they committed a crime, or you need a warrant of some sort. They used in such an extraordinary and illegal way a very particular section of the Terrorism Act designed for like ticking time bomb scenarios where you know a bomb's going to go off somewhere in the next few hours. You must ask the terrorist mastermind questions, sort of like waterboarding without the water. And he has no right to remain silent, and he has no right to stop the police from inspecting his papers and documents. It's a very unusual and draconian law, sort of like the Patriot Act, for example. And they used it on you. And what was funny, I remember we spoke afterwards and you did a video afterwards. They asked you about your plans for the movement, for the rally. And I thought they would be asking you about the things that they wanted to nick you for, like contempt of court. And all of the questions that they asked of you using this extreme law were, what are your plans for a national movement? A conspiracy theorist, which by the way means someone who will be proven right in 3 months, a conspiracy theorist might say they were trying to understand the state of the movement because the deep state might have had some agent provocateurs. We saw that on January 6th in the United States. We saw FBI and agents whipping up the crowd to go into Congress. We see these perfectly attired khaki pants, red hat, feds marching through the United States with their racism, obviously feds. Why wouldn't the UK do the same thing to take the energy out of your street movement? You had a peaceful street movement, Tommy, that was getting great press. And why not take the energy out of your movement by sending in malefactors, by sending in the odd arsonist, the odd person who can be whipped up by the state? I'm speculating here, but I've seen this movie before, Tommy.
Ezra, do you know why they couldn't do that at our events, at our ones that I organised? Because they keep going saying I've organised these events. The only events I've organised have been totally peaceful. And they couldn't do it because we set out amongst all of the lads. We had tough men there ourselves. And we said, anyone turns up with a face covering, we're taking them off, yeah? Anyone. So any groups of men, they couldn't send 10 men wearing balaclavas and covering all their identity because we would have turned on them ourselves. We made that very clear to anyone coming. You see anyone pulling up with face masks on, we're getting them off. We had lots of influential football clubs and large groups of men there, and the same MO went to everyone. If anyone's wearing all black and got a mask on, pull them, hold them. Yeah. So it would have been impossible for them to infiltrate that 100,000 without the 100,000 people turning on them, yeah, and getting their face mask off and finding out who they are. Yeah. So then 2 days later, after just anger on the streets of the UK, the next day then there's buildings being smashed, there's fires, empty police stations get set fire, and the people doing it look pretty organised and wearing all the same clothes. So it looks very suspicious.
I've seen that. Go ahead.
Yeah. Have you heard of the Special Demonstration Squad in the UK? Have you ever looked them up?
No, tell me about them.
Look up the Special Demonstration Squad. So the British government used to have a group called the Special Demonstration Squad. Their job was to infiltrate demonstration movements and provoke riots. That's their job. Look them up. Google it. Have a look at this. It's an organisation. Some of the undercover agents went on to have babies with the groups, with women.
I read about that. I remember that. I remember that case because one of the women who had a romantic affair with the cop was later felt tricked and I think tried to sue. I do remember what you're talking. I am going to.
The Special Demonstration Squad. They've got a full. They had a full, and they're not going to not have that now. Now, what they managed to do, we was on the rise, yeah, and the public were totally with us. And I know that from everywhere I go. They've now tried to turn it in a 7-day period. Ezra, when I got detained by counterterrorism, they took my phone. Yeah, they seized my phone.
Right.
They seized my phone. I then get back in the car. They're saying I fled the country, yeah, because of the riots. I wasn't even in the country when the riots started.
Right.
I wasn't there. I wasn't here. And I was on a pre-booked holiday that was booked 18 months before. And then journalists come and doxed where my children were. They get the location of where my family and children were, let everybody know. So the rule, I've never, and as I said, I've been in this, Ezra, you know, I've had lots of troubles, I've had lots of problems, I've been in lots of situations. I've never felt a target the way I feel now. There is a full-on attack. The New York Times today, Panorama today, the Times, financial investigation today. They are literally hammering absolutely everything they have from every angle directed at me under the accusation that I instigated riots. There's no evidence of that.
Yeah.
They're building me up as the fall guy so that the public perception can be changed. So when they lock me up for a long time like they wish to and they want to, and if not, they've literally told every British Muslim I orchestrated and organised the attacks against their mosques. I've got Muslims making videos with machine guns. Some were arrested yesterday by armed police in the UK. I've got the biggest target on me now. They're probably just hoping a Muslim will kill me, or they're going to bring me home and drop me in the prison system. There you go, Tommy. See you later. Right? There you go. And so I'm watching it all, but I'm thinking, I'm lucky. I'm so lucky that we have X, because imagine I didn't have X. Yeah. I've been able to make a counter video that's had 7 million views that shows actually I didn't say any of these things. Here's what I said. Right. But if I didn't have X, then what I've been able to do for 5 years prior to this is just tell everyone what I'm saying. That I'm not. Yeah. I'm literally not saying it. Yeah. So,
and that's important. And the most important Twitter user is Elon Musk himself, and he has been riveted by what's going on in the UK. He's probably done 20 tweets himself about it. He retweeted that front page about the 1,400 girls in Rotherham who were systematically raped. He said, "Is this still going on, Keir Starmer?" He used the phrase two-tier Keir, about two-tier policing. So not only is he providing you a forum, but he's asking questions. He's not quite making statements. He usually has a question mark at the end of them, but he's engaged, and that has got to be driving the establishment crazy. I think his acquisition of Twitter perhaps is the most important free speech event in a decade. Maybe in history.
It's the most important for us. It's like literally we're under, people don't realise it. We're already under communism without Elon Musk Twitter. We're already under communism. They control what you say about vaccines, what you say about Big Pharma, what you say. They control what you say about everything on every other platform. There is no freedom. So even when we have even Americans say we have the Constitution. Well, you don't. You might have it on the street, but they don't care what you're saying on the street. They care what you're saying in the platforms where you can reach millions, and you can't say anything. You're totally, if you go on TikTok now and search Tommy Robinson, there's not one single video comes up. If you go on Instagram, they have totally blocked, and what they've started doing, Ezra, they haven't done it to like to Jordan Peterson, but they've gone through every other video. So all the videos I made, which were calling for peace and calm, they've all been deleted off every other platform. So literally, as they pump and prop the propaganda to the entire nation, he provoked the riots. If it wasn't for X, there would be actually no history of videos that show that I didn't, that show what the evidence of what I called for. And I can't, it's like I'm being totally set up in front of the world. Not one journalist has commented on it. And they all know I haven't done it. Yeah. So,
well, if you remember in the book 1984 by George Orwell, what was the job of the hero, Winston Smith? His job was, and this was obviously in the pre-internet times, the book was written in the late 40s, was to cut out old newspaper articles and replace them with revised histories. And that was his job, is to change
the path. This is Animal Farm.
And
this is Animal.
Yeah, they can't do that. They don't need to do that on paper anymore. They do that by deleting the history, by changing who you are, by repeating a lie often enough.
For the last 3 or 4 days, every single British chat show, talk show, and news show, every single day has lodged against me and some of the words are instigating violence, directing violence, inciting violence. There's no evidence of any of this. Mm-hmm. So literally, I feel the establishment, the media, the police, everything has totally waged war on me. Yeah. And why? Because I galvanised the British public like no one else has been able to. Because I brought together and unified different races, different religions, different colours under the banner of Great Britain. Because we celebrated our identity and our culture and sent a message to the British establishment. Yeah, it's David versus Goliath, but David's ready for a battle. Yeah. David's not backing down. And I'm still saying, well, I'm still not backing down. And the thing is, right, if they think this is going to work, the cat's out the bag. So they think they're going to haul me back to the UK at some point, put me in jail, it solves the problem. The problems that you're seeing spill onto the streets is because they've covered the problems up. Right. Resentment and anger is boiling because of their failure to address the issues. Right. So once again, they had an opportunity here. Keir Starmer had an opportunity to be a statesman. He had an opportunity to stand up and say, we need to unite this country together. We're going to listen to why you're angry. We're going to understand the fears that you have as British people about your culture, about your replacement, about the violence, about the race. We're going to listen. We want to bring everyone together. He didn't do that. He full on attacked. So these problems are going to continue. They're going to bubble up. They're going to grow. And if he thinks putting me in jail is going to solve it, it's going to do the total opposite. Put me in jail and have me killed. You are the sparking the revolution. Yeah. You will spark it. So I have no other choice at the minute. I haven't done anything wrong. I believe in freedom of speech and freedom of the press, and I'm not going to back down from that. So if you tell me that I can't share videos of riots, I'm sharing. Lock me up if you want to lock me up. Yeah. Put me in jail if you want to put me in jail. Because the world, the entire world is watching right now. If they want, I know we don't have freedom of speech, but most people still think we do. So this will drill home and put the nail in the coffin of Great Britain for freedom, democracy, and democratic rights and freedom of the press. They're going to end it. But let the world know you've ended it. Because for so long, you've been pretending we've still got it. You think the British establishment pretend they're better than China. They pretend they're better than Russia. They're not. Yeah. I know that. You lock me up whenever you want. The first question they asked me, Ezra, in that counter-terrorism is, what do you think of the United Kingdom? I said, a totalitarian shithole. A totalitarian. And why'd you say that? I said, you've just detained me under terrorism legislation, where what they said is, when they read out the form, they said, we have to believe that you are in the instigation and preparation of acts of terrorism. And both their words were, we know you're not, but this legislation gives us the opportunity to do this. I said, so you're totally abusing your power to seize my phone. And the point I made to them, which is they're going to struggle, because they said they were charging me. And whatever happened in those 12 hours I was in custody, on the outside, where this went viral, they made a decision not to charge me. They bailed me. They took my phone, and then as my solicitor rang them the next day and said, we're taking you to court. They give it straight back. Now, I'm a journalist. As a journalist, you're not allowed to get into my phone. You're not allowed to, because I have sources of information on my phone that give me sources of information about your corruption. I've done documentary after documentary on young schoolgirls. Ezra, do you know one of the things they asked me? So I spoke publicly. They're doing me for contempt of court. I spoke publicly about having new evidence that says that Justice Nicklin from the court fell out with his own dad before my trial about me. Yeah, so that means he should have excused himself.
Wow. So the judge, so this is about the Syrian kid. So we're talking about who sued you for defamation because you proved your case by talking to all the teachers of the school who had been given a chunk of cash to sign a non-disclosure agreement. It's a very contentious issue. That's the video that's your pinned tweet, 40 million views. You're saying the judge who ruled against you, his dad split with him on this matter? Is that what I heard you just say? His dad is a supporter. Wow. His dad's a supporter. Wow. So his dad's a supporter. He didn't excuse himself. He ruled against me. So when they got me down counter-terrorism, they're asking me about that. I'm like, and I don't have a right to remain silent. So I'm like, is that, and the point being, that is privileged information, officer. Yeah, my messages between me and my solicitors. It's privileged. It's confidential. They can't ask you about your legal case. Let me ask you a question. That interview, was it recorded? Were they filming it? Was it being? You can't get you're not allowed the recordings of it, Ezra. No, are you? You're not allowed. No, they were probably recording it. Yeah, they record it, but you're not able to get it. Really? You're not able to get it. And what they say is, what they're asking you there cannot be used to charge you. Yeah. So it's literally just finding out what they want to find out. They can't use it. Wow. Now, did you have a lawyer for at least part of that detention? I had a lawyer, yeah. I had to listen. But what could a lawyer do if you were compelled to answer, I suppose, right? You're compelled to answer. And I made it very clear. I said that there is zero chance of you. Bearing in mind, and I gave them the rundown, in Rotherham, your police officers got rid of evidence of DNA of Muslim rapists. That's what you've done, your police officers. In Telford, your police officers were taking money off of Muslim rapists. In Rochdale, they were doing the same. In some of them, your Muslim police officers were involved in raping the girls. Yeah. So the girls talk to me. I've exposed corrupt police officers. Episode 6 of The Rape of Britain, we have a Labour politician, a lead Labour politician, and we have covert recordings allege child exploitation from him in the council offices. Yeah? So they're pushing me and asking me all these questions. You're not having it. You are not taking vulnerable people that talk to me for my work and then putting it on any computer system,
where these people can get tracked down. Because some of the girls, episode 5, we look at Kareen, they literally located where she was and the Muslim gangs turned up. It was the police that gave the information. So I'm never, ever, and I said, this is the hill I'll die on, lads. So if you want to prosecute me, that's when they said, well, we're, because the 6 hours, they hold you in the port for questioning. It's only if you breach the terrorism legislation by not answering them. So I answered all their questions. So one of their questions was, explain to us why you don't agree with a two-state solution for...
That's so weird. That's so weird. That's crazy that they're asking you your political, religious views.
Everything. They asked me, how do you think you will stop the Great Replacement? That's what they asked me. I'm like, lads, what is this about? What is this about? And obviously, don't get me started on some of the points they raised. So I just blah and told them straight, you lot are a mess. The country's a mess. Two-state solution. Would you give ISIS a state? Would you give ISIS a state? Shut up then. I said, look, all of these points you're making, I said, your courts are corrupt. Your entire court's corrupt. I've proved that. My film, the problem they have, Israel, which is why I think this is all coming, that film on 40 million views should be enough to tear down the judiciary.
Right.
It should be enough. Do you know the
to have some inquiry? They should have an external commission of inquiry to review the trial, given the facts of your movie. That's how a healthy checks and balances system would work. Whether or not you're right, Tommy, how can we find the objective truth? Well, you've made so many assertions that seem to be backed up by facts and video evidence and interviews. And surely there's some check and balance in this system that said, well, we should at least take a second look at this and maybe get a fresh set of eyes on this. The fact that they won't tells us something's rotten in the UK.
They're just going to lock me out. They're literally just going to lock me out. And essentially, Ezra, it's like if they don't think I was aware of the consequences when I decided to play the film on the 27th of July, I decided to do that to put the judiciary on trial. I know it's corrupt. I've been through the system. I've spent a year of solitary confinement. They locked me up and changed the context of things that were said. They totally just fed the public total lies. Whilst I'm censored, they told the public I incited vigilante attacks against Muslim rapists. I just didn't. There's nothing to say I did. But it doesn't matter when they control the entire narrative and the media. So right now, luckily, I thought I may never have a voice like I've got now. I've got 100,000 people in front of me, and I've got the world watching online. Here you go. There you go. Have a watch. And if it wasn't in the public interest, which is their argument, why have 40 million people watched it in 8 days?
Yeah.
Of course it's in the public interest.
Yeah.
And I'm a journalist. That's my job. My job is to uncover corruption.
Yeah. Wow. Now, Tommy, I want to be respectful of your time. Do you have a few more minutes? Because I've got a few questions.
Ezra, I've got time for you, bro.
All right. Well, listen, I mean, we follow you carefully. I've known you even before we set up Rebel News, when I was with Sun News Network. Then I got to know you a bit when you worked with Rebel, and I visited you in the UK. It was a real adventure traveling around with you. And all the places that we see are on fire now. We visited, whether it was Sunderland, for example, where we tried to champion the case of justice for Chelsea, or Fletcher, who had his shop that said, don't support terrorism, and police said, you got to take that sign down. I don't know if you remember crazy cases.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, of course.
So we've been interested in you, even when you left us, when you were arrested and thrown into prison. I spoke with your family and got their permission to do the crowdfund to help the legal side. So we have a 10-year interest in Tommy Robinson and your causes. So I think
you might need to get.
Go ahead.
You might need to get ready again, bro. You're going to need to get ready again. Because I know what's coming.
One of my questions for you, the lawyers who helped get you out of the clink, I don't know, 6 years ago, Carson Kay, I really like those guys. They seem really smart. They seem trustworthy. Do you have a good legal team today?
Let me read this to you. So I do have a good legal team. Yeah?
Okay, that's my first question. I want to make sure that you're lawyered up, because you can't go in half-assed.
Alistair Williamson, preparation outlined above, first day of court hearing, £50,000 plus flat. Patrick Hill, brief fee, outlined above, first day of court hearing, $33,000 plus VAT for him. Any subsequent court hearing days would be charged at a refresher rate of $5,000 plus VAT, plus $3,300 plus VAT. At this time, the hearing in October is set to last 2 days, and therefore we would include at least one refresher. That's 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 plus VAT, 120. In terms of Carson K of liaise, $25,000 plus VAT. How can it be 140? This is part of it. So that's £140,000.
Which is like in Canadian money, that's close to $250,000. It's around $250,000. Canadian.
For a 2-day trial. So this is the point of it's everywhere. So not only are they getting you in court, they drain you financially, they tie you up. My problem, Ezra, the problem they have at the minute, which I believe, after taking legal advice and spending £10,000 for an opinion, they haven't even served me an injunction. They're taking me to court for breach of injunction that they never legally served me. Huh. They actually didn't give me the injunction. They emailed it. Well, Justice Nicklin, who is the judge in charge, we've got him already on another case saying email doesn't constitute service. Huh. There's a legal process for service. They didn't follow it. Yeah. Whether they stick to this in court, this should be kicked out. Yeah. They should be in trouble.
Well, let me say this. So much is riding on this. Those are astonishing numbers, but I know that lawyers in the UK are very expensive. My personal opinion, for whatever it's worth, is you can't afford a cheap lawyer. You need the best lawyers because they are throwing the unlimited resources of the state against you. All their intelligence services, all their police, all their prosecutors, Keir Starmer, the former chief prosecutor of the country, they're coming down to bear on you. And so while that is an astonishingly large cost, it's my personal opinion it's worth it. You got to pay it.
The thing is, and they're saying it might not be 2 years, it can be 4 years. 4 years for a film.
Wow.
4 years.
And how do people chip into your legal defense fund?
Helptommy.com. That's what it is at the minute. Helptommy.com.
Now, let me ask you another question. Go ahead.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sitting here. I'm looking, thinking at all this. All I've done is galvanise people in peaceful protest and call out the corruption and the failures of a government and previous governments and point out to their policy failures. All of the reason there's tensions in this country, and Keir Starmer's first speech where he condemned the rioters actually poured petrol on the fire in a massive way.
He inflamed things. He was not a statesman. He was a partisan. He chose sides. That was a shocking speech. Here's a clip of that. We'll put it in right here.
I utterly condemn the far-right thuggery we've seen this weekend. Be in no doubt, those that have participated in this violence will face the full force of the law.
Yeah, I mean, that was not a healer. That was not someone looking to... there was an amazing... Did you see that amazing statement by that... very senior police commissioner, Donna.
She deleted it, though. She deleted it. She had to delete it. She deleted it in the day.
But that was an amazing statement that basically said riots bad, violence bad, but we must talk about these underlying issues, which doesn't sound like a shocking thing to say if they were race riots, if they were black riots. Like Keir Starmer personally took a knee for an American incident, nothing to do with the UK, George Floyd, absolutely nothing to do with the UK. Keir Starmer took a knee and was talking about how we need to listen to underlying grievances. But when it's Indigenous British people, he says to jail with you.
And then did you see they arrested someone yesterday for actual misinformation? They arrested a lady because she put up the wrong information online. Yeah. They're arresting people for misinformation. Yeah. This is a government that told us, including Keir Starmer, I dug up one of his tweets today, saying that the AstraZeneca vaccine is 100% safe.
Right.
Well, Keir, it's not. It's been proven not. So you, under your own guidelines now, you need to be prosecuted. But the problem is these laws are not implemented in that way. They're looked for who they want to crush, and they'll use them on them.
Well, you know what? Lavrenti Beria, really the first boss of the proto-KGB, he said, I think he said this to, I forget, Lenin or Stalin. He said, show me the man and I'll find you the crime. As in, we've got him already. We've got everybody already. Everybody breaks some law. We have so many laws, and the laws are so vague. So just show me the guy and I'll arrest him, whether it's for misinformation or inciting hate. It was incredible to see that head of prosecutions say, if something is likely to incite feelings, if you're insulting someone, just insulting them, if it's likely to...
And you retweet it. Yeah. If you retweet it, you can face prosecution.
I mean, what is hate but a human emotion? And, you know, I can get emotional.
They've used this as an opportunity to scare the public into ever saying anything online or in person.
Yeah. Well, I want to ask you one more question about the legals before we move on. And it's just based on the last time they threw you away. Do you have, God forbid they put you in jail and you're no longer able to make videos, you're no longer able to communicate, They restrict your access to lawyers, which is what they did when you were in prison last time. They made it exceedingly difficult for you to meet with lawyers. Do you have someone, not a successor, but like an operator, a chief of staff, a commander, who, if you are incommunicado, can continue to do things in your absence?
No, Ezra. Are you volunteering yourself there, Ezra? Because I need someone. Do you know, remember last time when I was in jail, it took me 3 weeks. I'm in there unlawfully. It was proven. It took me 3 weeks before I was meant to meet my lawyer. So say I was meeting my lawyer on a Saturday, they come and got me Saturday morning and shipped me to another jail. So by the time the lawyer got to the prison, where is he? He's not here. It took another 3 weeks.
Well, you need someone to be the quarterback. Like, who will instruct the lawyers? Who will do the crowdfunding? Who will do the messaging? Do you have someone?
Yeah. But it'd probably be helpful if I link him up with you, Ezra. Because I remember last time when I was in jail last time, I'm sitting there thinking, I know Ezra would know what to do. Yeah?
Well, I mean, my goal was just to, and maybe we're saying things that we shouldn't publish because the police will be watching this. In fact, you want me to delete this from the video?
Yeah. Well, they're after us anyway, Ezra. But what I need is on the 28th and 29th, if that's the date of my trial as well, we need journalists there. We need people there.
28th and 29th of which month? Of August?
28th and 29th October.
Okay, October 28th and 29th. And which court is that in?
The High Court of London, the Royal Court of Justice.
Okay, I've been there before for some of your Well, you know what? I'll do my best to attend. I'll check my schedule. I remember when they put you in the back of that police van. I think that was in Leeds. I can't remember where that was, and they swept you away right away. 10-minute hearing for contempt of court, and you weren't seen from again. And I guess what I'm saying is it took a while to get the machinery going to crowdfund and to lawyer and to get you out. Like I think we wasted 30 days. Well, listen, I want to be careful because I'm not a British national, and I'm a reporter, I am an advocate, and I am a crowdfunder, and I do have a legal background because I did practice as a lawyer 15 years ago. There's
going to be massive street presence. If I'm locked up for years for this film, it's going to go.
Well, I mean, I'm thinking about not just about you, but about your family. I mean, I know you've been in prison before, but it is not a good place for you to be. I will talk with your friends, but I want to make sure I have the right position. I don't want to be banned from attending the UK because I want to go there to report. I want to be a reporter, but I think that this is what drives me crazy, Tommy, is, I mean, there are good people in the UK. I like the Free Speech Union, Toby Young's team. I've encouraged them to talk about your case. I think they're shy. I like GB News and Dewsbury, Michelle Dewsbury is good, and there's some good folks there. They're a little bit shy. They're not
allowed to talk about me. They're not allowed to.
And even Nigel Farage, he's so desperate to put space between you and him that he's poking at you, I think, excessively to try and demonstrate he's not one of the bad guys.
Yeah, because I think he just wants to be a Tory. So he wants the establishment Tories. I can see Nigel Farage joining with the Tory party, and what he's trying to do is slam us to get the support of the establishment Tories. Because the problem, Nigel, I think, wants to be part of the establishment. I want to bring the establishment down. Yeah. So there's two very different things. Nigel wants to be in the establishment, cozying part of it. We don't.
Do you have any allies? Who are your allies?
Who are my allies? The people of Great Britain. The public.
Is there anyone, do you have, I mean, I know there's the odd independent-minded politician like Lord Pearson of Rannoch, but he's just one member of the...
Do you know what, Ezra? There's a hell of a lot of influential, famous people who are now on side. We were on the borderline on the 27th of July before this, of lots of people coming out. At the next event we would have done, I think, and I'm debating right now, Ezra, of calling a march for peace in my country and leading it, and leading it possibly on the 12th of October, possibly. So I'm thinking this now. You're trying to bring us down. I know we can control our supporters. I know our support is not what you're implying it is. And I put a question out today saying, shall we unite the kingdom again? Right. I think 100,000 people will become 250,000 if we do it next time. I think the country is ready and they know it. And that's why they've manipulated the entire last 7 days. They actually put up fake demonstrations to get people out so they could get the headlines that they've controlled on every national media.
You know, 15 minutes ago, I talked about the deep state and was it a setup? Remember, the deep state doesn't just operate directly. They operate through surrogates like Antifa. I remember during the riots in 2020 that completely black bloc dressed head to toe, people often with an umbrella to hide themselves, were going smashing. They were caught on tape getting the riots going. I don't think they were necessarily FBI agents themselves, but they were surrogates. They were with Antifa does that. And I know Antifa is very active in the UK. Nick Knowles of the Soros-funded NGO called Hope Not Hate, he's publicly boasting about hoaxes. He tells lies about acid being thrown in the face of Muslim women that is later repeated as a cause for riot. Here's a rioter citing an Antifa guy named Nick Knowles saying we have to protect our Muslim sisters from having acid in the face. Take a look.
Our fathers have come from a different country to here. We were born here. We are British, Pakistanis, we are Muslims. We will stand here. We will fight against EDL. We will fight our ground. Our innocent Muslim sisters are getting acid attack. Mosques are getting broken. But everyone should be here. Fuck the EDL.
That was a lie by an Antifa spokesman working in collusion with the government. So it's not just the government, it's their agents. Hey, Tommy, let me ask you this. Let me just get quick snappers on a few of these folks because I've seen them lately. Piers Morgan, on the one hand, he talks about you, and he actually does have some people quarrel with him, like he's a real debater. Any chance that you'll get on his platform, or is he just forbidden to allow that?
He's a coward. He's a total coward. He knows if I get on his platform, I will humiliate him. He's come out and made statements that he can't back up. I know he can't back them up. Any statements I've made, I can back up.
But he's a good debater. He's a good debater. He's clever. He's smart. He's fast. I think he's one of the more open-minded people in the establishment. You've been on his show before, right?
Yeah, and I ruined him. He come across as a
well, I wish he'd have you on because I think not only would that be, from his point of view, a ratings success.
Did you not see his response, Ezra? I called him out yesterday.
Yeah.
I said, rather than continue lying about me, why don't you have me on? Give the public what they want. Let's discuss this issue. Yeah. And then he put, get up off your knees. This is embarrassing. It's like, mate, you're meant to be one of the top debaters. You're a coward. You sit there and you want to lie about me without a right to reply. No, and that's the point. That's what he wants to do. And the reason why, Ezra, is because truth's on my side. It's not on his. He knows that. I
think that you could appeal to some of his instincts. I'm more sympathetic to him. I agree with you that he's being a bit of a chicken, and I think he's treating you unfairly. I just think that the two of you together, I think that would be a fascinating conversation. And I don't know. I just wish it would happen.
He should have watched our film and he should have come out like a man and he should have apologised to the young English boy Bailey. Yeah. He should have come out, held his hands up and said, look, I messed up. Yeah. But he's in a position where 40 million people have watched it. People are tweeting him all day, every day, calling him out for his disgraceful journalism, his disgraceful part that he played in that story. And he's obviously not happy because I've made the film. Yeah. But Piers, be a man about it. Piers, be a man. We all make mistakes. Own it. Own your mistake, accept when you're wrong. Just like you were wrong for pushing the vaccine, accept it. Yeah. Accept you were wrong on this. Just like Piers was wrong for falsely accusing the British Armed Forces of torturing people. Piers was wrong for hacking dead kids' phones. Piers, you've been wrong many times, and you want to levy and try and take the moral high ground with me. And the reason is, if we sat down and had this discussion, he loses. Huh. He loses and he knows it.
Well, that'd be very. And let me ask you that. I admired GB News. I think that the backers of it have poured an enormous amount of money in. They're philosophically tilt towards freedom. I think they've held the other media to account. They have talked about issues like migration, illegal migration, crime, things that the others don't. They're not perfect, but I think in the UK media landscape, they're as good as it gets. What are your thoughts on GB News? And remember, they're laboring under Ofcom legislation. If they go too far, they'll be shut down. What's your candid take on GB News?
My take is that what they done to Mark Stein, what they done to Calvin Robertson, what they done to Dan Wootton, what they done to Lawrence Fox was disgraceful. That's my take. Yeah? My take is it was disgraceful.
Okay, but put that aside. I think some of that is more HR personnel stuff. But what about? I mean, I watch them every day.
They do good work. They do good work. And their presenters have some fabulous presenters pushing the points. And to be honest, They are pushing the points, and they're bringing about more debate.
I think they had someone covering your July 27 rally. Am I right?
For the first time, yes.
Yeah.
And it was,
All right. Well, listen, I think, frankly, in a world with very few allies, I would put them in the good guy camp.
They do great work. They do great work. I probably am being a bit bitter because they continually allow people on their platform to make lies about me, and they never give me a right to reply. Yeah. Now, real journalism is having both sides of the story. Right. If you want to have someone sitting there slagging me off and talking about me, have my opportunity for me to counter what they're saying. Yeah. And I have the same with Nigel Farage. Yeah. You don't Nigel Farage come out just now and said, and the reason he done it is when I was arrested under counter-terrorism legislation, all of his own base would have been demanding that he's now a politician. Speak about this abuse of power. They'd have been asking him to. So to get around the need to speak about it, because he's a coward when it comes to mention my name, he sat there and said, it wasn't to do with terrorism, it was to do with a passport offence. Even though every bit of evidence is online.
You know what? Let me tell you a little story. I don't know if you know this, but on July 4th, Election Day in the UK, I went to the town of Clacton where Nigel Farage was the candidate. I wanted to see what would happen, and I thought that would be the most exciting place to be. And I spent a couple days in that seaside city. And I didn't know that in the UK, it takes till like 4 a.m. to count the votes. I like it. It looks very rigorous and trustworthy. I wish America were so rigorous. Anyway, so I'm milling around like it's 2 a.m., 3 a.m. And what do? You talk to other people milling around. So there were a bunch of Reform UK staff, like senior volunteers, local organizers. And Tommy, at least 4 of them came up to me and said, hey, we saw Tommy Robinson in Canada. How did that whole thing go? Because this was shortly after you were in Canada doing your tour. So I was talking to all these Reform UK officials, and they were big Tommy fans. They wanted to talk to me about how your Canadian tour went. In comes Nigel Farage, and they're all, saluting the boss. I guess what I'm saying is, I bet you if you could do some sort of a survey of 1,000 randomly selected Reform UK people, I bet you 75% of them would be like those blokes I met who were pro-Tommy. That's just a little anecdote. I really enjoyed the fact that they were bantering with me about you before Nigel came.
Did you see my question I asked our supporters when we had 100,000 people in Trafalgar Square?
I didn't.
I said, put your hand up if you voted for Labour. No one put their hand up. Put your hand up if you voted for the Conservative Party. No one put their hand up. So put your hand up if you voted for Reform. And the whole place put their hands up. So I said, Nigel, please, right? Stop kicking people out of your party for having an association or supporting or saying words about me. Because as you've seen today, you'll have no people left. So just stop it. Stop lying about me. Let's call a truce. I don't want to be at war with you. I think you've done some great work. But please stop using your platform on TV to slander or lie about me. You are following. He says he's against the mainstream, but then he takes the mainstream narrative on everything to do with that.
I think he's scared. I mean, I don't think he's quite found his stride on this issue because he is so connected to the establishment. So he's sort of like he's an in-house dissident. He's not outside the castle. He's in the castle. He's in a funny place. I wish him well. I think he is the most consequential politician in the UK since Margaret Thatcher. Brexit, the man will go down in history for that. His fight against debanking, very important. I have hope for him yet, by the way. Hey, let me tell you something that I say whenever, I like going to the UK, and I started doing that when you worked with us because I wanted to see what was going on. And here's what I think about Tommy Robinson. Tommy Robinson is inviting millions of working class Brits, especially men, especially working class, especially in the North, to stay peaceful, to stay positive, to stay constructive, to go to a rally of 100,000 people peacefully, multiracial, black people, brown people. Like you had such a diversity there, and it almost had a festival feeling. Like it was so positive.
It was great.
Tommy Robinson's is actually stopping the radicalization of working class Indigenous British men. Tommy Robinson is pulling those people back into their system and saying, don't give up yet. Don't get violent. Don't go for a violent revolution. Come for a peaceful revolution. I believe, frankly, that you are stopping the radicalization, and the fact that they're demonizing you, either it's in good faith, they just disagree with you, or maybe they want full-out war. Maybe they don't want the peaceful alternative.
They want chaos.
I think so. And that's what I would say to anyone in the establishment is if you end the Tommy Robinson phenomenon, these millions of disenfranchised working class indigenous white Brits, they're not going to suddenly be, and what's so interesting is Keir Starmer's declaring war on his own people. Those working class northern white Brits, they vote Labour. And where are they going to go? Where are they going to go? They are going to get angry, and there will be much worse than the EDL. There will be terrible things if those people are not welcomed into the system in a positive, peaceful, constructive way.
Totally. And I think they want it. Like one of the videos, I looked up what I said, and what I said is men in these cities, these kids on the streets, because a lot of them are young, they're angry, they're upset. They need leadership. You have to lead them. The reason why we were successful is because we led. We said, take the balaclavas off, put the bloody rock down, right? We will give you a voice. And that's what I stressed in the build-up. We've done such a good job in the build-up to say to people, Ezra, when I was 25 years old, when I started the English Defence League, I put a balaclava. Yeah, we all did. We all run through the streets. We done that because there was no voice. There was no one listening to us. We were angry. No one would listen to us. And people are now listening only because of Elon Musk, which is what I stress. We've now got a platform where we're reaching far more people. I think I've got double the support that GB News have, much bigger reach than GB News currently just on my X account. So we are reaching the masses. Follow the way we say to do it. Yeah, give us a chance at having our voices heard, at changing the culture of the UK. We changed the culture, we changed the politics, and people signed up to that. And they came, and I watched as some lads were getting angry, and there was a little bit of an argument going on. I was looking on the stage, and I looked, and as they looked over, they just went, all right, because they know what we've told them. They know the direction we've put them in. We haven't put them in a direction for chaos or violence. And do you know why I stress that? Because look at these lads now going to prison. These kids are angry, and now they're getting taken away from their homes. They're working class men at 58 years old, banged up in prison for 3 years. They're going to get terrorism jail. I know what they're getting. As soon as they land in jail and they're associated with Tommy Robinson or the right wing, they're going to get hurt by the Muslims in there. Yep. They've got terrible prison sentences, and they're putting targets on all their heads. Yep. They're just angry young men, and every time there's a riot, in any other community, the politicians sit down and say, we have to understand where the anger's coming from. Not on this. On this, it's just, you're all racist, you're all far right, and you're all going to jail. Yeah.
I remember the English Defence League, or the EDL, and I know you basically shut it down more than a decade ago now, if my math is right.
It hasn't. If you look at the Google searches, we've done a video on it earlier, looking at it. It has been debunked, not even mentioned since 2017.
Well, and it was shut down, and you were the leader, and you renounced it because it was being infiltrated. And to hear Keir Starmer, the media always say, Tommy Robinson, founder of the EDL. The EDL has not been a thing for a decade, but they want it to be so badly because they want
our support base to be that. That's what they want.
That's the thing. They don't want the white working class indigenous Brits to be normalized and enfranchised. They want them to be outside, but they want them to be evil, violent outsiders. It's clear that they want that. They want you to be that, but you're not cooperating. You're not reading their script.
And we beat them. And essentially, we sent the best message to the world, and in a massive success. When we left at Trafalgar Square, I said, we done it. Yeah. We absolutely done it. And you know what we done? We harnessed and channeled people's anger into a festival celebration of their identity and culture. All the things that have been taken from. We gave those people a sense of belief, belonging, and a vision. We gave them a vision. And that's what we're in the process of doing. And we're still going to do it. It doesn't matter if we're imprisoned. We're still going to do it. You see the 48% or the 52% of people who don't vote. We're going to electrify them. Yeah. We're going to bring them together. We're going to give them a vision and a direction, and we will challenge the establishment. It doesn't matter whether they delay it for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. It is inevitable. And what they don't want is someone that can galvanise them and someone that's going to do that. So see you later, Tommy Robinson. Rest in peace, Tommy Robinson.
Well, listen, there's been... How many Osmond warnings have you received? Just for our viewers in Canada and America, an Osmond warning is when police have concrete, actionable intelligence that you are about to be killed. Someone's coming to kill you. They have an obligation to physically hand deliver to you a warning letting you know you're in danger. How many Osmond warnings have you received from the police?
12, Ezra, 12.
12. Just for our viewers to know, that's 12 genuine death, not just death threats, but plots to kill Tommy Robinson. That's just on the streets, let alone when he was put in prison, and let alone what the cops would likely want to do.
Wow.
I am worried about your safety. Just really quickly, I see that you've been doing the American circuit. You've sort of broken in to the American news bubble. My friend Ann Coulter talked to you yesterday. Give me a quick rundown. I know you're on Alex Jones's show from time to time. Give me a quick rundown of some of the Americans and other foreigners you're talking to.
I done Charlie Kirk. What did I do yesterday? Well, let's see. I done so many, Ezra. So do you know what? I've done so many. Do you know how refreshing it was to hear these people sit there and say, "We've followed you for years and we support you. We don't." I done Alex Stein last night.
He's hilarious. Was he funny?
Yeah, he's brilliant every time, and sitting on the side.
He's such a cheeky guy. He reminds me of Gavin McInnes a little bit. Sorry, I interrupted you. Tell me more. Who
Ann Coulter, Alex Jones. It's great to see Alex Jones back as well, because remember, these people were. He was like me. He was toxic. They destroyed him. They ended him. And see someone who they've spent all that money and that effort and that effort to demonize and destroy, to then have the credibility that he's now got. I enjoy watching that. I think it's brilliant to see someone come back from the dead, essentially, because they made him dead. They made me dead. Yeah. And to see now, and it's like you need to address why we're the biggest voice in the UK. Yeah. You need to address why. It's not like. You need to look at why people are looking to us. Yeah? If you want to solve the country's problems, if you don't want to solve them and you want to keep burying them and trying to bury them, but at some point it always comes to the top. And what you've seen in the last 7 days is it's come to the top. Yeah. And you may hide that now, and you may hide it under the far right banner. The problems haven't gone away. Yeah. The feelings of communities are not gone. Yeah. The tension, the anger, the frustration, you've just buried it temporarily. Yeah. It's going to come back. Yeah. It's going to come back. So we've got a lot of work to do as a country. We've got a lot of work to do as a people. But the message we send back to the establishment, again, we ain't backing down. Yeah. If you think your intimidation, your threats, your imprisonment and all this is going to scare us into silence, it's not. It doesn't work with us. Surely you've realised that. It does not work. And in fact, whatever move you make next actually galvanises our support base. Either way. So imprison us, you're going to galvanise the Free Tommy movement like you've never seen before. Yeah? You better be ready for it, because it's going to come. So you're going to galvanise the support base. No matter how much you far right label them, you try to crush them, people aren't backing down anymore. You know why they're not backing down? Because they generally see their country is in danger. Yeah. They generally see the future of their children is at risk now. We see it. Everyone sees it. And I am in the privileged position that I get to experience the public feeling everywhere I walk. Yeah. So I know, we're in a bad time, but a good time. We're in a good time because the public are totally awake. Yeah. They're awake and ready. And again, I wish to lead them in nothing but peaceful resistance. Yeah. And we're not going to stop.
Well, Tommy, you've been very generous with your time, and I want to let you go because I know you have a lot of things on the go and on your mind. My number one worry is for your safety. I'm worried about that because you've been demonized to millions of people, and you might have one kook who says, that's why they're
doing it. That's why they're doing it.
12
they're
times
doing it so someone does their job.
You've had 12 actionable death plots against you. My second worry, which is growing, is legal help. Now, you've convinced me that you have an excellent law firm. My God, are they expensive? But I believe you need the best lawyers in the UK. That's my view. I'll talk with you maybe more offline about what happens, God forbid, if you're swept off the streets, made incommunicado, because...
That's what I think they're going to do. That's what I'm surprised. That's what I think. They are sitting there and they can't handle the fact that the public are on our side. That's the reality. The public are on our side. So they keep trying to crush it and stop it. And if every comment on every article, everywhere, is in support of us and against the establishment. Keir Starmer has had the worst start of any prime minister I've ever seen. He's divided this nation more than anyone could ever dream of, yeah? And then coming down like a tyrannical regime of the Soviet, that's what he's done. Yeah. And that ain't going to work. Yeah. So, yeah, I worry that at some point, bang, Tommy Robinson's in jail. Yeah. And that's what will happen. Yeah. I'll be detained, I'll be held, whether it be in the country I'm in, I'll be taken to another country. I think I read things that they were talking about transporting people to the Falklands, like British people.
I saw that, yeah. I tell you, Keir Starmer ran for Parliament as the son of a toolmaker. but he's running as prime minister as a tyrannical prosecutor. It's just atrocious. Well, stay safe, my friend, and stay peaceful. I know you will. That's your mission, is to keep these millions of disenfranchised Brits positive, constructive, hopeful, and nonviolent. The violence has come from the other side, even if the mainstream media lies about it. Your journalism website is Urban Scoop. What's the URL for that again?
Urbanscoop.news. Urban Scoop.
By the way, congratulations on Sammy Woodhouse. Outstanding citizen journalist. I admire her as an individual, and I admire her work.
Ezra, they're going for her. They're going for her. So her local paper, so all Urban Scoop have received this week is hit piece after hit piece where they're going for her.
For her.
They're going for
She's a saint who lived through hell and is now a positive community force, an excellent citizen journalist. I can't believe they're going after, that's like saying they're going after Mother Teresa, in a way.
They're going for it. They're going for her because, again, she's given a credible voice and she's showing what's happening on the street, and she's giving the public a voice. They don't want the public to have a voice. I'm appalled
to hear that. All right, Tommy, thanks for taking so much time, keeping stuff in touch. Stay safe.
Cheers, man. See you later, bro.
Bye-bye. There you have it. Tommy Robinson, the man in the center of the news in the United Kingdom, someone that Rebel News has had an affiliation with for years. We've interviewed him really since the inception of our channel. He worked for us for about a year as a journalist, and we've kept in touch from including about 6 years ago crowdfunding his legal defense. I hope that it sounds like he does have strong lawyers around him. I'm glad. A little bit of a team. I'm a little worried of what happens when he's no longer able to use that great asset of Twitter. Tommy's strength comes from Twitter, which is why they try so hard to censor him. Not only can he get his message out that way, but he can ask for help. If you take him out of it, he can no longer talk, no longer use that huge audience, no longer direct them and lead them. And he may even be cut off in some ways from his legal team. We've seen that happen to him before. Well, a very interesting hour, and I hope you found it interesting as well. That's our show for the day. Until next week, when we have big news in Canada. Tamara Leach back in trial, if you can believe it. Canada's Tommy Robinson. They're persecuting her, turning the process into the punishment. Led a peaceful protest, the trucker convoy. She's back in court on Tuesday. I'll be in Ottawa on Tuesday morning with our young reporter, Sarah Stock. Both of us will be covering the trial on Tuesday. Sarah will stay all week. I have to move on to a few other things, but I will be there when the trial resumes on Tuesday. Until next week, on behalf of all of us here at Rebel World headquarters and around the world, to you at home, good night and keep fighting for freedom.